Hey guys, TrueGreen7 here, and in this video I'm gonna simply run through all the Pokemon games I played and show you guys the Pokemon that I had on each team. Now a lot of you are probably thinking, who cares? But this video is actually my most requested, so just think of it as a great way to showcase the Pokemon that I tend to use. And we may even bond due to a Pokemon that we both had. Or not, I just like talking about myself. Keep in mind that I won't be going in order of generation, but rather in the order that I first played each game. I also won't be mentioning any playthrough that I haven't finished or that I played on this channel. But let me just tell you that I definitely don't remember the team I used in my first ever Pokemon game, which was Ruby. And I don't even think I finished my yellow version. But you'll get to hear more things you didn't know, like who I chose as my starter in all of my Hoenn playthroughs. Just enjoy and don't judge me, please. I mean, you're definitely gonna judge me, especially once you hear about my all Bidoof Diamond team. Just kidding, it was half Bidoof, half Krickettoons. So I guess the first official team that we're going to be talking about will be my Emerald team. Now I got this game 12 years ago and replayed it a bunch of times, so I definitely don't remember my original team, but the team that is most precious to me is the most recent Emerald team, which wasn't that recent, it was like 9 years ago. But I still use the Pokemon on this team today, because I never beat the Battle Frontier, and from time to time I open Emerald and give a few battle facilities a shot. Now here's the team that I technically have used most out of any. Now I obviously started with a Trico, so Sceptile was the first on my team. Then on Route 101 I caught a Wurmple and it evolved into a Beautifly, if you really want to know. Next on the team was my Gardevoir, who is the one I use most till this day whenever I challenge the Battle Frontier, and he helped me get my first symbol from Lucy. And yes, my Gardevoir is a male. He's awesome. The next on my team was Dustox. For some reason, I liked the idea of having both a Dustox and Beautifly. Then my Swellow joined the team and broke that dynamic, but it was more useful than a Dustox. My Breloom was next, and Azumarill joined too. It was my HM slave and the MVP of the team. It stayed till the end and everything. Then I got a Camerupt soon after, making it look like a fully fledged team. And once I captured Rayquaza, I replaced my Swellow to give it some room in the party. Yeah, I use legendaries in some of my playthroughs, so get over that. I had fun and that's what's important. Plus it took me like 2 hours to capture Rayquaza, so it was worth it. Now this is my Hall of Fame team, but once I started Emerald's immersive postgame, I added a Wailord and Salamence. I remember training that Salamence. It was my first pseudo-legendary and god was it satisfying. Now this was technically my second to last Emerald team. A few years ago, my brother gave me his Emerald version to play through once, and then we gave it to my sister. I don't really remember that team other than the fact that there was a Tentacruel and Glalie, and obviously a Sceptile, and probably a Gardevoir. I always use those in Hoenn, but the others are forgotten. After Emerald, I jumped into the world of Diamond and Pearl. Sinnoh was weird to me as a kid because it was so different than Hoenn, kind of the polar opposite. I remember the day my brother and I got it. We brought our DS's to my cousin's memorial service. He died at the age of 15 a week prior. But that's enough for that tale. So in Sinnoh, I chose to have a team of Bidoofs and Krickettoon only, except I'm completely lying. In Diamond, I had a Torterra, Staraptor, Luxray, Roserade, Floatzel, and Rapidash. Pretty good looking team aesthetically. It looks like the team a Sinnoh champion would have. Now my friend had an action replay and I used it to give me 99 of each TM, but in the process deleted my HMs. Luckily I was able to beat the game, but I didn't really play it again until I was in high school. Now the second team was the Bee's Knees, and was the one that I really did grow to love, because it was the first time that I really decided to nickname my Pokemon. I also decided that I wanted all 3 starters, so I restarted the game 3 times in order to get all of them, and decided to name them after titles you would give a ruler. So my Empoleon was named Emperor, my Infernape, who was technically my starter in this game, was named Caesar, just like the one from Planet of the Apes, and my Torterra was named Monarch, but with a K, because it was a combination of monster and bark. Very clever if I do say so myself. Then came my Crobat Bruce, my Gallade Job, named after the character from Arrested Development, and Buzz the Electivire, a very nice team I believe. Now after a break from Pokemon for around 2 years, I was brought back into the franchise for all time by playing Pokemon Black. Serperior was my starter, but my brother gave me a Tepig egg, so I had a very useful Emboar. Palpitoid joined in, then Jellicent, and finally the 2 really fun Pokemon, Escavalier and Archeops. They're both so powerful but had weaknesses to balance them out, being Escavalier's baby-sized speed and Archeops' ability. Very memorable battles were had. Now once beating the main game, there was still a lot to explore. I replaced Palpitoad with Kyurem during this time, and then replaced Kyurem with a Mewtwo my brother's friend gave me. But about a year ago, I replayed Pokemon Black, and my team was completely different. I had a Samurott named Otto. I would actually call him out using a New York accent. Then we got a Stoutland named Sunny, who I also call out using a New York accent. Otto and Sunny were both pals. Then we have the German Zebstrika. I named her Strika. Then Scarlet the Scolipede. Then I caught a Sock. Now when I encountered him, it basically took out most of my team, so I knew I needed to get him on my side. I captured him and named him Dirty Dan. Then the South American goddess joined my team and I named this Sigilif Nazca. I liked this team because I gave them all characters and personalities. They felt alive. It was really fun. Now the next game I played was Firered. I don't really remember my original team. In fact, I didn't like it as a kid and never played past the first few gyms. I think I returned it once I got Emerald. So technically I played this before Emerald, but the team I'm gonna talk about will be the one that I used as a teenager in high school after I played my first Black playthrough. So I was getting back into Pokemon after playing Pokemon Black and asked the same dude who gave me a Mewtwo to loan me his Firered so I can properly play the game. He did, and even let me keep it. So shout out to Adi for giving me both a Mewtwo and Firered. I ended up loving that playthrough and the team I had was pretty epic. It was my Kanto Dream team. I started with a Bulbasaur and had a really good Venusaur. He was like the father of the team. Then Pidgeot, a Nidoking, a very fast Persian that I replaced with a Growlithe. Then I replaced Pidgeot with a Zapdos. Snorlax came next, and then the MVP of the team, Lapras. And yes, I waited until my Growlithe learned Flamethrower at level 49 to evolve it. And that Arcanine was just so good once it evolved. I'm proud of this team. Imagine seeing a trainer walking with such badass Pokemon behind him. Very cool in my opinion. Now my first and only completed playthrough of Johto was in Heartgold. And again, I had a really good looking team. It was the first time I ever chose a non-grass type starter simply because I like Feraligatr more than Meganium. And this Feraligatr was very loyal. Then a Noctowl joined. Golem came next, and the MVP of the team, Ampharos, came after. My Gengar was really good too, and Forretress rounded off the team. I caught a Ho-Oh and put it on the team since I had no fire types, and when I got Mewtwo, I put it on my team because I was too underleveled to defeat Red. Still never beat Red though. I actually just restarted the game and decided to name all my Pokemon after avatar characters. My new team will definitely defeat Red. In Pokemon X, I had some Pokemon on my team as well, and I used them for battling. I chose Chespin and therefore got a Chestnut, then a Talonflame that I soon replaced with Charizard, who was the MVP of my team this time around. Pangoro was very fun to use, but instead of having two fighting types, I made a smart choice in getting a very awesome Malamar. But till this day, Pangoro and Malamar are my favorite Kalos Pokemon. Now the next three Pokemon to finish off my team were all traded to me by my brother, because I wanted to have them early on, but couldn't access them. Those were Mamoswine, Magnezone, and my first Pokemon to hit level 100, Dragalge. It was Pokemon X, so the XP share plus the 1.5 XP boost you get for traded Pokemon helped Dragalge get to such a high level. The next Pokemon game I played was Black 2. It was actually the most fun Pokemon experience I had at the time. I was way back into Pokemon at that point after playing Pokemon X, and I remember never playing Pokemon Black 2. When I finally did, it was relatively challenging and different than other main game journeys. This was the first time I picked Samurott and named him Ronin. Next was Luke the Lucario, Morty the Magmortar, and Batya the female Crobat. I loved using a Crobat in Diamond and I got another one. Then Evan the Jolteon and Rocco the Krokorok. There wasn't an MVP of the team because they were all equal, really. It was a very memorable team for me and I still use them today whenever I want to give a crack at the Pokemon World Tournament, so I'm very close to this team. The next game I played was Alpha Sapphire. It was like my 17th Hoenn playthrough, but it was still magical. I had a Sceptile for the 17th time, as well as Gardevoir for like the 15th time, and a Camerupt for the 12th time. But the rest of the team was relatively new. I used Ludicolo for the 5th time, but Slacking and Altaria for the first time ever. And I gotta say, it was a fun change of pace. They were both way better than I expected. Obviously Slacking was as powerful as I expected, but that just meant that he would one-hit KO anybody and never really succumb to Truant. I did end up replacing my Ludicolo with Kyogre, but just for the final stretch. After the Delta episode, I really enjoyed going through Hoenn and trying to complete the Hoenn decks. It was a relatively fine post-game experience. Instead of having my main game team with me, I trained a fantastic Breloom named Avery, who totes a mighty powerful Spore and False Swipe, and I used him to capture all the Pokemans. So my post-game team is just Avery and a rotating group of Pokemon that I want to train, including the Sharpedo Archie gave me named Eska, after the character from Korra, who I used to surf, dive, and waterfall with. And finally, my most recent team from Pokemon Sun and Moon. We got Decidueye, Lycanroc, the MVP, and if you want to hear his story, click on this card right here, because I already talked about him in my top 10. I had my trusty Hariyama, who was very powerful, didn't expect that at all. Then comes Vikavolt, who I traded with my brother, who already beat the game. That way he could evolve it and trade it back to me, so I didn't have to wait until I reached Vast Pony Canyon to evolve my Charjabug. I had a Cutiefly and Araquanid, both pretty good, but due to my abundance of water types, I ended up replacing the two with Golisopod and Salazzle. And once I did reach Vast Pony Canyon, my first grass encounter was with a Jangmo-O. I trained it up really quick and unfortunately didn't bring my Hariyama to the Elite Four. Now this is my final team, and half of them are super slow and have polarized stats. It made the game even more challenging and therefore fun. So my great Pokemon Sun and Moon experience can be attributed to the makeup of this exact team. Those are all my teams. Now if you enjoyed this video, consider checking out my Patreon page right here, where you can get rewards like seeing my videos days early, or you could just check out the description below to get some cool t-shirts that I designed myself. Of course, liking this video, checking out the ones here, and subscribing is totally enough to support the channel. I'll see you guys very soon.